In this video I'm going to talk to you about what I've found with the X-coils. My personal opinion, right, wrong or otherwise, it's just what I've found. So I do have 5 X-coils. I am addicted to them. They are brilliant. They each have their purpose though. So let's just start. First, the GPZ 14 coil. I had it, I used it for quite a while. I did find gold with it, small gold and large gold, but I found it didn't cover all my bases, and it did tend to miss some gold in some places under some circumstances. So I moved on to the X-coils. First we have the 15 concentric. This is my favourite all-round coil. It does everything, small to large, deep, shallow. It'll pick up a lead shot on the surface and sound like trash. It'll pick up a lead shot at 10 inches and still give you a good solid signal. I've also found gold 1 gram at about 12 to 18 inches deep, and it gave a booming sound. So this coil I love, I use mostly, and I find most of my gold with this coil now. There are a couple of positives and a couple of negatives. Concentric coils have the outer coil, inner coil. There's a send and a receive. Basically your coverage is not the size of the coil there, but the size of the inner coil. So the inner coil only being so big, it's like you're running an 8-inch coil. So you have to overlap your sweeps continually, otherwise you will miss gold. Don't just look at the top and bottom and think, okay, one sweep, move on. One sweep. You actually have to go sweep, sweep, small intervals. So it's a great patch clearer. It's great in medium to open areas, but you don't cover as much ground. Easy to handle, lighter than the 14-inch, and it's 15-inch concentric. In fact, most of the X-coils are lighter than the original, or lighter than the 19. So 15-inch concentric, all-rounder, absolutely fantastic. My favourite. When you are running your scoop across the coil, you do have to run it closer to here, to the centre, or here out, so it runs across both coils. You can't simply just run it across like you normally would, because it may not actually pick it up. 15-inch concentric. 10-inch spiral. So a smaller coil, incredible. This thing I put up against my wife's SDC 2300, and it performed as good, if not better than the SDC. You'll pick up the smallest of surface gold. I have found a 0.013 size of gold with this, and obviously everything up. Again, it's a relatively small size, so you wouldn't go using it in open areas. It is limited in its depth, but it does have a sweet spot of around 10 centimeters or 4 inches. So anything from there down is awesome. From 4 inches on, it depends on the ground you're in. I have picked up targets on this right next to the Welcome Stranger Monument on a mullock heap, right next to a tree, down about 12 to 14 inches. It was very clay type soil right next to the red surfacing, and it turned out to be a larger lead shot, but it boomed. I actually thought I was onto something, unfortunately not. So it is capable of very deep targets on milder soils, and also it is brilliant for mollikeeps. You can run it over the mollikeep, down the sides, etc. quite easily, and it does a strange thing with these, or what I consider strange, and that is when you run it over your target, you'll hear the first noise, so beep, 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 but it won't necessarily get stronger. If you push down slightly on it and run it forward and back just once or twice, the sound increases and it picks up the target. So it's just a strange sort of quirk that I found with this. That's my experience. Maybe it's just the way I'm hearing it. But very clear sounds. Amazing on small gold. Absolutely amazing to depth. Larger gold, I haven't come across any larger targets with it, but I don't tend to use it for that anyway. X-coil, 10-inch, small, easy, can swing it all day. Love it to bits. Awesome in the bush. Awesome up against tree stumps. Put it up against a tree stump and bang, it'll pick up whatever is within that tree stump, underneath it, near it, etc. Okay. 17-inch spiral. I have the lower shaft off at the moment on this one. So this is a larger coverage coil. I would definitely say this is a open area coil, somewhere like WA, or the open or flatter areas in Victoria. Get quite a nice sweep. Again, by comparison, now I haven't measured this on the scale, but just feeling it by this, there's not much difference in the weight there. 14-inch, 17-inch. So this coil, you do lose some sensitivity on smaller targets, but only a very mild amount. I'm still finding I can run it over the lead shot and pick that up anywhere from the surface down to a few inches with ease. Where this excels is its ground coverage and its depth on larger targets. So this will pick up your ounce plus targets at 12-inch plus deep and on, obviously. It gives you much better coverage, so you're also finding other targets within that sweep, and if you're going for the deeper targets, then you'd use different settings on your detector, obviously, to set this coil up for that. I wouldn't be swinging this around all day, but that's just me. I have used it quite a bit. I have found gold with it. They're usually gram or sub-gram sizes, and usually within only about 8 inches, which is pretty standard in Victoria. Again, good coil, gets used, but dependent on where I am. '17 concentric. Again, another favourite. Now, there's another guy that I am friends with. He swears by this coil, loves it to bits, finds gold with it all the time. By comparison to the 15, you've got your outer and your inner coils. So the inner is obviously slightly larger, the outer is much larger. You still have to do closer sweeps, 1, 2, 3. You can't just go by the width of that. You need to be aware that your swing width is the size of this inner coil. Now, I find this works very similar to the 15. The only difference is you lose slight sensitivity on very small targets. So, example, the tiny steel shot that they use, like bird shot, The 15 will pick that up and give you a pretty loud booming sound. The 17 will only give you a light blip. Now with a larger lead shot, like buckshot or whatever, the 15 and the 17 will both boom like trash. Now this coil, what it does tend to have the advantage over the 15 is depth on targets. So you will get down to 12 inches plus on gram size targets, or gram plus size targets. Between the 15 and the 17, I would go the 15 because it's more of an all-rounder. I know what it can do from small to large and for its use in Victoria. The 17, I love it. It does get use more so on larger open areas where there's specific parts that the gold has accumulated, or where I've had other finds and I want to find a bit deeper targets. So 17 concentric, again, fantastic coil. You do have to do your sweeps closer together. It is probably still not much difference to the 14. You'll have to get the specs online, but the X-coils are extremely light by comparison to the Minelab coils. So 17 concentric, another winner. Okay, my latest acquisition, 15 by 10 DOD. So similar wiring to the original Minelab coil. As you can see, elliptical, a lot lighter, nice coverage on your sweeps. It's narrow on the sides, so it does lose some depth, but not a lot. It is a more sensitive coil compared to the original GPZ 14. I've only used this a couple of times. I haven't found my place for it yet, and possibly don't have a very accurate opinion on it, other than to say that it's stable when you desensitize it. All the other coils you can run quite hot, as in sensitivity high, running it on normal or difficult, high yield, etc. You can run all those coils on those sort of settings and they're really quite stable. If you run this coil on that setting, I find that it's way too sensitive, and I have to basically dumb it down. So if you reduce the sensitivity of it through your settings, it seems to run really, really well. I do find it a brilliant patch finder. You can jab the nose into bushes, etc. Run it up and down the side of gullies, sideways, and obviously your full sweep. Now it does operate similar to the original 14, but not the same. I found that you go over a target on the 14, you get your blip blip sound. On this, it seems to be more of a singular blip. Maybe because the coils are closer together, I'm not sure. Again, I haven't really found anything positive or negative about it, other than when you're running it, it is extremely different to every other X-coil, and starts to become closer to the original Minelab GPZ 14 coil, and must be run accordingly. I'm looking forward to getting some more use out of it, and I'm looking forward to using it for more patch finding rather than clean up, as you do lose some sensitivity by comparison to the other coils on small, shallow targets. On anything else, brilliant. Okay, that's all the X-coils I have. I will probably be investing in more down the track, but at the moment, these ones are keeping me happy. This has got the longer cord on it. I have used it with the longer cord. And my long cord setup, which may be attributing to some sensitivity problems. I'm yet to work that out. Like I said, this is my latest acquisition, so I like to take my time. each coil, use it, let it find its place, and then I know when I go out to, say, diggings, I'll put on 10-inch. If I'm going over to a new area, patch find that's open, I'll use this, or the 17-inch spiral. If I'm looking for particular targets, very specific, I'll be using the concentrics, which give incredibly good pinpointing. Like, you can pinpoint down to your first scoop when you use a concentric. Not so much with the others, and not even this. Yeah, I really enjoy the X-coils, and I hope that you do too. Thank you.